So the MCU might actually reset. We've been hearing about this from some insiders, but what exactly does this mean? What is the MCU going to be like after Avengers Secret Wars? It's going to be completely different, it sounds like. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Warren, and with me today is Law. He was with me last time. Get used to his beautiful face, like I said. And we're going to be diving into first of all, Secret Wars, just because it's so exciting. But what it means to end Secret Wars and end the multiverse saga and how the next saga comes into play. Like I said, insiders have been hinting like Secret Wars is going to reset everything. And we don't know if that's going to be a hard reset, a soft reboot, but that's what we're here to talk about, the possibilities of what could happen right away. Just your initial thoughts. Do you think it should reset after?
I mean, from a personal standpoint, there's a part of me that would be a little disappointed if we just like completely started anew. But at the same time, just because, I really care about like what the MCU has laid down, this is why some of the multiverse stuff maybe feels a little cheap, is because it's like, oh man, don't wash away all the hard work we did with like the first phases, right?
Right.
But then we do need something to kind of shake it up and make it more exciting, introduce new characters, and it would expand like the lifeline or like the lifespan of the MCU.
Sure.
Whether or not that's a good thing remains to be seen. But
that's
like
the question, isn't it?
But I mean, I can definitely see it being a major possibility, though. It makes sense that if they went that route. How about you?
Well, here, a follow-up question before I answer.
Okay.
How do you feel about if it's like a full reboot, right? Like it's like we're wiping the slate clean. It's like DC, right? Like we're wiping the slate clean. Here it is. And they're like, all right, full reboot. Now we can have a new Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Like, how does that make you feel right away?
It's hard because like, you casted some pretty iconic, or like rather the characters became iconic with the cast of it,
right? Exactly. Yes.
And to try to match that would be really hard. I also would be kind of like annoyed if like we finally get XMen and it has nothing to do with the MCU as I loved it. And
that's true too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good point.
So it would feel kind of cheap. I would understand it from a business standpoint, but I don't think I would like it very much. But then again, I don't know. Maybe it could be very clever how it's handled. But like, I don't really want another Iron Man if it's not Robert Downey Jr.
I know that, and I think that's how a lot of people feel right now. But you did say, if they find a clever way to do it, and I think there are like advantages and disadvantages to doing it. But I think it actually starts with how they're going to approach Secret Wars, because one thing that we've heard recently is Secret Wars is kind of going to be, this is going to sound kind of weird, but the finale to all the Marvel stuff we've seen, even prior to the MCU beginning with Iron Man. So let's take it back to XMen, which was basically the first one, if we're not counting like the older movies like Fantastic Four, like the Roger Corman one or whatever. Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Not with like Jessica Alba and them, but the one even before that, right? So if we're gonna take it back, I believe it starts the X-Men and then Spider-Man. So Secret Wars is kind of a farewell to this whole superhero under Marvel, of course, era. Right. So, and we've heard Kevin Feige is kind of making Secret Wars, it sounds like Deadpool 3, like a farewell, like, hey, because he was with Marvel when X-Men started, right? He was an assistant producer and then just boom and moved up until, now he's the president, right? So all of these people that he worked with before, all of these projects, it's kind of cool. Like really, Secret Wars is everything coming together from such a very long time. It's poetic almost, right? I mean, it's romantic, right? And so that's why it's been like, oh, this is kind of like him saying goodbye. And when he says goodbye, it's kind of like ending a whole era, including the Infinity Saga and possibly now the multiverse saga of the MCU. So if it ends that way on a very good, poetic, awesome note, and you see Wolverine and Deadpool and Tobey Maguire and James Marsden as Cyclops, and you're seeing all of this stuff, right? I mean, that's going to be just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
everybody thinks like, oh, this is what we hope happens. Right. Because I think a lot of people, including myself, thought Multiverse of Madness was going to be like cameo.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly think Secret Wars is going to be like that. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
if they hit us with all that, that it could be so big that a reboot might feel
Fresh.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
fresh.
yeah.
Yeah,
Refreshing.
I was gonna say refreshing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It might actually feel because you're like, oh, like boom.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you need some time to come down from it, right? And you're
Sure.
like, okay, well, let's just they could be like, well, we're giving you time. We're gonna start new.
Yeah.
And then I might be like, I'm down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm like, oh no, don't recast Iron Man. But they don't have to right away. They could do
They
it
don't.
10 years
And
down.
that's the smartest way to do it, is to
Right.
not try to redo all those things. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah, don't make it the same.
alternatively, what if they go into the path of like, this might be a little out of the box, but like you have like Matt Reeves Batman, right?
Mhm.
But you
Mhm.
also had like the
Oh,
Batfleck. You also had, you know, like whatever else is coming.
yeah.
Is it going to be a time where it's like more experimental takes on the characters? Like, I don't know. Like, would that be interesting? Probably would make sense to keep it franchisey, right? But
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
But,
and I definitely wouldn't start with like Captain America,
No.
Thor, and Iron Man again, right? Like, you got to find your other pockets, and it might be the new mutants. You know, that might be our intro. Who knows?
Regardless, I think that's the direction they go. So basically, we just talked about a hard reboot. There is a possibility of soft reboot, right?
True.
So, you know, for example, like maybe the Scarlet Witch, you know, classic House of M, no more mutants, something else like no more multiverse, and it kind of starts over, but like remnants are left of it. So like maybe like a bunch of universes combined from the multiverse into one universe.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now you have the mutants and everything that happened before in the MCU, but now you can just focus on the mutant story moving forward, the Fantastic Four story moving forward, have callbacks to the Avengers every now and then, right? And then they come together 10 years later, whatever it may be.
Sure.
Right. So that's like the soft reboot option isn't bad. And there's several ways to do that. One is like the universe could start again, but maybe maybe they all get a new universe and they have to rebuild it. Yeah. So people remember things that happened in the past, right? But it still is new. Or maybe, you know, at the end, a lot of different things do get fused together. I guess I'm saying the same thing.
Well, it's so funny that you're bringing it up, because this is a storyline, and spoiler alert, Mortal Kombat, the video game, Mortal Kombat 1, is that Liu Kang had to reestablish a brand new timeline, and then he placed characters that he wanted in different life circumstances, and then built a new universe that was pure, kind of like Kang did, or sorry, He Who Remains did in Loki, right? And so that's kind of an interesting concept to me, where it's like, yeah, we still have a Captain America, we still have this, but we also have like, oh, this guy has been here for a while, even though it's like a new character. So it's like, that's also an option. And the idea of like a keeper of time, or like a godlike deity, I mean, that fits within the MCU as we stand. I mean, we've been seeing gods show up in the MCU, you know, the end
we had Eternity.
Yeah, we had Eternity.
That's like the biggest one we've seen.
We know Valhalla exists, you know, like, so the concept of something big like that,
right,
controlling would totally make sense.
And we have seen the Living Tribunal.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So you just said something that sparked an idea that I had like a week ago, was what if, because I always think about like, what's going to happen after, like, are they going to reboot? Are they going to keep going? Because in the comics, like they essentially do restore the multiverse to an extent. And of course that's an option. Like they just restore it and they move forward, and then they're aware that there's a multiverse. And then maybe moving forward, you can universe jump.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's a council of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. They all communicate with each other. I would love a multiversal Illuminati. Like the one, like you choose one person from each universe to be responsible for, like, you know what I mean? But I thought, so maybe in some type of a reboot, maybe you get just like, maybe the heroes decide like, well, we can't we can't really restore what we had, but maybe they, in like outside of a space-time thing like the TVA, maybe like all the remaining Avengers like Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch or whoever, maybe they kind of become the TVA. Maybe they become responsible for creating a new universe, multiverse, whatever it may be. That way it's kind of like you can start over with a new universe, and then you can maybe in the future like be like, how like the legend of how this universe was like created, right? Like there were heroes like us before, and they stopped this conqueror who had thousands of variants, and then they rebuilt it, and they watch over us now, right? It's the kind of like the god, like a god would do, right? You know, like create a universe, and I don't think that'll happen at all, right?
It's a pretty big concept for like a commercial audience to consume, But I like the idea of that, like a multiversal Illuminati or like
exactly
team. Like that's what I thought we were gonna get in Doctor Strange, you know, like
right.
But and so now maybe we get that in full. I don't know. It's like you said, there's so many paths they could take to either soft, hard, or no reboot at all. Like like it could just be Kevin Feige's swan song, and then someone else comes in and reestablishes a new era, you know.
Don't say that, because that's a very real thing. Kevin Feige could say, you know what, this wasn't just like my farewell to like the X-Men and stuff, but
it's my farewell.
Yeah. Oh no. We'll talk about this in detail in just a bit. But first, big thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Many of you may know that I personally use HelloFresh and I love it. It makes cooking fun, easy, and it's affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit delivered straight to your door. And you might not know that they actually have seasonal recipes. Right now, since it's summer, they have their new Fresh and Fit summer menu. So if you're trying to get that beach bud, but you're also trying to eat really great tasting food, it's perfect for you. Right now, it's peak time for summer produce, and HelloFresh makes sure you get all the best picks all season long. Their ingredients travel from the farm to your door in less than 7 days for quality you can taste. If you are trying to impress your friends this summer by doing some cooking for them, HelloFresh makes it super simple. They give you all of the ingredients and tell you exactly how to make each meal. And the best part is, right now, if you go to hellofresh.com/50cosmic, you can use code 50cosmic for 50% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/50cosmic and use code 50cosmic for 50% off your order and free shipping. And you know what's sad is, like, I think a lot of people now might welcome that. I don't think the MCU has been really as bad as people make it out to be. I think there's a few loud people, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? If you don't like it, that's, you know, good.
It's just not all of them are winners anymore. And like, in my
opinion, they were in the past though. Like, not everything, like Thor, Dark World, Iron Man 3,
but it's still enjoyable and still like interesting to me to hold my attention. You know what I mean?
I think the problem, just going back to what you just said, is it's not the fact that they're not all winners, because not all were winners in the past, but mixed in with that were some bangers. And I feel like there's been a miss of bangers recently, right? Because I feel if it was like, oh, this one was okay, but then this one and then this one were awesome, and then these other two were okay, but then this one was awesome, then I feel like people would be like, oh, that's okay. But I feel like a lot of people think a lot of them have missed lately. But for me, like, nothing's been so, except for like the ending of Secret Invasion. Besides that, nothing's, and like, I even enjoyed that fight. It was like cool, but writing wise, it was just terrible. But anyways, besides that, I haven't like truly hated anything and been like, oh, this is garbage. I lied. What people know that it's not that I guess it's not that I hated What If, but I like, when you have something like the MCU and it doesn't really serve a purpose, I'm just kind of like, why am I? But anyways, I mean, I would, in that sense, would a reboot and would a new Marvel president coming in be better, or would it be better to keep Kevin Feige and continue on with the story with a broken multiverse, or like an infused multiverse where it's like a bunch of universes are in one, and that's how you get the mutants, right? Because maybe they don't exist in our universe, they exist in another one, and they come over to ours, and it's like, hey, here you go, you have the mutants. Because at the same time, I think I would like kind of like a buildup for the mutants like they did with the Avengers. You introduce one and one and one, and then,
Mhm.
oh, hey, here's Professor Xavier. He
I would
starts
love
to
that.
recruit them all, and now we have the
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think I would enjoy that more than like, hey, by the way, here the X-Men are in
We're,
your universe now.
but we're at a place in the MCU where so much has happened that people will start asking questions of like, where were they during Thanos?
Right.
And that's so hard because it's like, yeah, you want Fantastic Four to show up in the MCU, but you're going to be expecting them at full functioning
Right.
Fantastic Four. You're going to expect the mutants to be full functioning X-Men. I would love to see those origins happen, and that only can take place in like flashback or era style movies right now.
Right. Which they could do.
Or multiverse, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, and I think this is just maybe it's a hot take, but I feel like audiences, for the sake of the audience, rather, we need to get the hell away from multiverse ASAP.
You think?
Wrap it up. Yeah,
because you think it's like a cop out.
I think it's too big of a concept to keep stretching, right? Kang is supposed to be this big threat, right?
Right.
If they don't show us how big that threat is and soon, or like how that all ties in, it's just, I think it is, maybe I do think it's a cop out, but I think it lessens the stakes overall for me because it's so big. You know what I mean?
Makes sense, right? Like, like I think at the end of Kang Dynasty, we're gonna lose.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna go, well, let's just go to another universe and get some help and see what they've done. And like, you know, and I think you can write that in a really great way. I'm really looking forward to that, actually. But yeah, it gets kind of weird when like, especially if, because there's like a report that the Fantastic Four film might actually take place in another universe. And then in like Secret Wars, they get brought into ours. And then I'm like, okay, so then they stay after?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that's the only way to fix everything. Is
that opens up really big questions.
Yeah.
It's just like, so, okay, either they stay in our universe after because theirs is destroyed and, oh, now we're in a new universe. But like you said, at that point, they're going to be established already.
Yeah.
And of course, it's going to be like, oh, I have to adjust to this new world. Because it's also said that it's going to take place in the 1960s. That's been rumored for years now. But I believe Grace Randolph is the person who reported 1960s and other universe. And I've thought of this before because I was like, if you're going to show us like a threat of Kang the Conqueror to the entire multiverse, not just one universe, you might want to show us the perspective of other universes as well, like to your point, to show us how bad he actually is. Show the threat.
Because let's be honest, it did not come across in Quantumania.
No, because ants killed or defeated him. And I was so pissed about that because I'm just like, you literally have the power to stop time. We saw you in the movie stop like people in time. Just do that. Like one thing that it doesn't bug me so much, but it bugs me when it's an easy way to like defeat a villain is the giant CGI army thing.
Yeah.
Most of the time I don't care. Because it's not the giant CGI army defeating the characters, but in this case, it was the giant CGI army. And you're like, oh, it was Hank Pym controlling them. It's like, no, it was ants. Like it was these little ants. And then, you know, then Ant-Man after and then they had like a fist fight. But really what happened was it was the ants that came down and
destroyed his suit and took away his power.
Like, you literally just showed us him evaporating people out of existence. He could have easily done that. To me, that's where I'm like, oh, that was kind of, I was like, this was your big bad show off and he lost to ants. Like, that's why I was so mad, especially because the previews look really good when he's yelling like, I'm Kang. And I'm like, all right.
You like compare that to when Thanos like turns in the chair in Guardians and he's like, I will bathe the starways in your blood.
Right. Yeah.
Versus
I'll do it myself.
And, like these like really bone chilling intros.
Well, and I guess you could say that was probably what the post credit was supposed to be. The trio of Kangs, the Council of Kangs, right?
Sure.
Like, oh, this guy, he was pretty rough, but actually, like, there's people
way worse.
Stronger, and there's also a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of thousands of them, but I also like the idea that there are like three above everybody, because then it's like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it's a big threat, but you need something to hone in
to govern. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I really like what you said. It's just like show us those like we want multiverse stuff in the same way that like Spider-Verse is kind of happening, right? It's
Right.
just like sweeping, like you see multiple universe. You actually live there for a little bit, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not
That's
you
all.
pass
That's all
through
that's
for like
missing.
5 seconds, like they did in multiple.
What has he done? You know, don't just show me like your little desktop hologram description of what
Right. Right.
the
Yeah.
you know Nathaniel Richards has done over time. Show me and show me the stakes because damn, it's I feel like we're playing catch up right now in terms of like giving him not backstory, but like
No, I feel you.
threat level.
Threat level. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see what Dynasty brings, but there's there's only a few handful of projects in between, to make that happen.
To show us, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I really like want them to lose again in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And I really want it to be like at the end, it's like they defeat Kang, but it's like we have no way to fix the multiverse. Like it's destroyed. And something happens and maybe cosmic entities come into place. Maybe the Scarlet Witch does something, or maybe they're like, we just have to all live together now.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the new MCU.
That's the new MCU. And I think that would be intriguing.
It would be.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be like, oh, wow. But again, and it's weird because I do want, and it could, well, actually, now I'm thinking about it now, because clearly our main timeline, our main universe, the MCU, Earth 616, we're starting to get people who have mutations, right? Kamala Khan, they said that, she's a mutant.
Straight up, yeah.
Namor kind of said, he said he was a mutant, but
yeah,
I always think in that frame, he wasn't referring to like the mutants of the XMen, right? I think he was just saying like, I have a mutation, right? So, but it's still very apparent that Marvel Studios is planning something. So maybe it's kind of like there are some X-Men left over, and then people are all of a sudden are like, well, I wonder if we had those in our universe. And then all of a sudden Kamala's like, well, actually they found something in my DNA. And then all of a sudden the new mutants who are truly new and fresh.
Yeah.
Because they've never, then they come and then they have mentors from other X-Men. That could be an option.
And it would make the discrimination storyline of the X-Men really stand out, because not only are these outsiders in terms of ability, but we've had superpowered people. What makes them strange is that they're not from our existence, our like reality.
Oh, right. That's a good point. Yeah.
And then it becomes less about, because it was always about race or like the outsiders of the time, LGBTQ at the time, right? All these different people. But then if it's like, it almost like, how do I say this? It generalizes the discrimination to like something a little bit more nebulous and easier to understand. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, who are these people? It could just like, we could talk about the mutants, obviously, but really it'd be kind of like what they brought up in Secret Invasion. Like, who's going to be okay with the Skrulls living on this planet?
Exactly.
But like, actually, maybe we actually talk about it this time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe Captain America, Brave New World.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Right. We still have the Marvels. We still have Captain America. Daredevil's in between there now, right?
There's a lot. There's a lot
enough
coming out
to keep us like still like in a direction.
There is.
As far as right now, we're theorizing, obviously, as always. Like, we don't know.
It's what we do.
But in terms of like a reboot, I could really see it going any of those ways. There's a lot of options.
There are a lot of options, and I'm curious to hear what everybody thinks about this. So reboot, hard reboot, soft reboot, meaning like you start from the beginning, but some remnants are left over. I'm not entirely sure how that situation would arise.
Yeah.
It could have something to do with maybe the Scarlet Witch saying no more something.
I like that idea because I always thought she was going to say, instead of no more mutants, she'll just say
no more humans,
or like more mutants, just like bringing them in.
Well, right.
I thought that would be our House of M.
Yeah. I thought that would be really cool. Like in WandaVision or Multiverse of Madness, if she just wanted more people like her. And she was just like more more superhumans, more
Sure.
enhanced individuals or something like that. And and you could easily walk into the name mutant. They already are. They already did with Miss Marvel and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. They have it
So
now.
right. So the concept can be established, and then yeah, because I think it's gonna be some type of combination of like Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch and Reed Richards, like using actual technology with
Yeah.
like Bruce Banner and stuff at the end, kind of showing like this is the only way we can move forward. And it's like
Yeah.
we're either gonna reset, and I mean, there. I guess like the whole thing, Kang is the master of time travel. They could probably get their hands on some gear and maybe
Yeah.
time travel, but maybe it's kind of like the thing where it's like, oh, well, some things are messed up now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah.
Now some people are mutated. Maybe because it's kind of like, I don't know, time travel gets tricky. So it's
It
maybe
does.
you can't completely erase everything, but you can restore the multiverse some way.
I was gonna say time travel does get tricky, but
Yeah.
multiversal travel
Is
is
even
weirdly convenient, actually.
right.
You could just pull from, oh, this universe has,
Yeah.
and that's like the erasure of stakes. But it could be soft boiled, hard boiled, scrambled boiled multiverse. Who knows
Right.
what's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
happen? I don't know.
But so I'm curious if like if we do a hard reboot and we get a new Captain America, Iron Man, all that stuff. Like I'm curious to hear what everybody thinks of that. If you like that idea, if you don't like that idea, because it's hard. It's hard to like if I say Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. pops
Who do
into
you
your
think
head.
of? Who do
Right.
they voice match in animated shows? You know what I mean? It's
Right.
Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like Sam Wilson is the new Captain America, but I still in my videos have to say Sam Wilson's Captain America, because if you say Captain America, the first thing that comes to your mind is Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy that we don't really know truly what's gonna happen. I am happy not knowing what's gonna happen. Am I concerned about the future? Yes, but in like a good way.
Yeah,
Because
it's like Uncharted.
uncharted territories, and you don't know how you'll feel about whatever decision they make. But I am excited because I think, well, one, I hope Kevin Feige stays, and two, I think they'll put the time, effort, and care into deciding where to go in the future.
Yeah.
But going back to what we said in the beginning, I do think the X-Men are the future. I think we move away a little bit from the Avengers, and it's more X-Men and Fantastic Four.
I feel like all those Fox properties from back in the early 2000s are going to get their due in a resurgence now, like I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that's our future. It's less Avengers and it's more X-Men, Fantastic Four. I mean, I'll be honest, one of my dream projects would be X-Men versus Avengers. I don't know how we would get there.
Well, no, I actually don't think it would be that hard to do that. Well, okay, let me rephrase. Considering what they do with the multiverse and the reboots and everything like that,
exactly.
I don't think it would be, because it's not too hard to show a universe where it was kind of the mutants versus everybody. It was the mutants versus the humans, because they they feared them, and the Avengers maybe feared them as well, right? Because they didn't play nice, because they're good X-Men and bad X-Men, right? So it's like, I think there are a lot of ways to do that, actually, especially when it comes to people who, like Iron Man, maybe have tech powered, and people who are born with it. And then it in my mind, it's almost like Civil War, right? There are people who are just responsible and want to fit into society and be helpful, and there are people like Magneto who are like, no, we are the dominant race.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you kidding me? I can move crap in my mind. I can move metal. We can teleport. We're superior. You will listen to us.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to do that, which I'm really excited about. Or they could just go the comic route where they're like kind of friends, and then stuff happens and they're pinned against each other.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you have Namor. Well, we already saw it. Namor, flooding Wakanda. Then you have Black Panther and Storm getting a divorce, and there's a lot of ways you can do that. And yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'd be really excited for that. And that's the thing, is like there's so much you can do in the future with MCU. That's why I'm so excited about it. I just don't know how they're gonna.
I mean, MCU when it started was the first of its kind. You know what I mean? Like, we've had superhero content before, but not the way this is strung along. And the fact that it's at 20, like reaching 20 years soon. like
That's
in no
insane,
time.
dude. Gosh.
2008, right?
Yeah,
And like
28. That's like 5 years.
yeah, we're climbing
That's
towards it.
insane.
So it would make sense to find some kind of resolution for that. But because like I don't know, I think about new viewers, right?
Yeah.
And this will probably be my last thought on on it. But like I think about new viewers and you tell them that you love Marvel. And if they don't know if they've been living under a rock or haven't seen like their earlier films, there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So a reboot would allow a pathway for new viewers
New
to like
generation of
just
Marvel
jump
fans.
in, right? So a
Yeah.
brand new starting point. And I think for a lot of people, they were like, "Oh, that's what after Endgame would be." No, we were
No.
still very much connected to all of the rest, you know.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it was such a satisfying moment, Infinity War and Endgame. Right. And like even to a point, the multiverse saga, there's a lot of payoff that's like, cool. I'm glad that we're here, you know?
Yeah.
Because like now we get cameos of like John Krasinski as Reed Richards, which I thought was funny because it was like an internet thing, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But for new viewers, I can see the benefit of that because then it's not
That's a
as
good point.
daunting to just like enter in from like
That
the giant.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's a really good point. Not only to just like new viewers, but like the casual viewers as
Yeah.
well. Like,
It's
cause
just like, oh, something new.
you gotta imagine like people who are like casual fans of DC that don't go on YouTube and the internet every day are kind of like,
Yeah.
what the crap is going on?
Who's this
Like,
bug boy?
what is happening?
How many
I thought it
Batman
was
are there?
connected. It's not connected. There's this one Batman movie that's kind of set back in time, but like, what is happening? Then we have
Yeah.
this Joker movie. Then we have the Suicide Squad. Like,
Mhm.
it, like, honestly, that's a really good point you bring up. It could bring a lot of simplicity to things, actually.
Simplicity. Yeah.
Yeah.
A chance for it.
That's a really good argument, actually. And I don't think what's interesting is I don't think it's too complicated right now, but once you dive further into the multiverse, I think it actually does get pretty complicated.
Yeah.
For like normal casual people, not like the nerds like us.
Yeah. No. We eat that up, right?
Yeah, we
But
love
like
it. Bring it
just
on.
seeing how people reacted to the cosmic stuff in the Eternals, I was like,
Right.
oh, this nerdy, deep comic stuff is
Yeah.
not for everyone. You know what I mean?
No. They don't fully like get the feel the grasp of it. Like
right. They don't buy into
Endgame,
those stakes as much. Yeah.
right. Like in Endgame, I was kind of disappointed. I really don't have anything against Captain Marvel, and I'm really looking forward to the Marvels. And let me specify that the character Captain Marvel and Brie Larson, Marvels was or Captain Marvel 1 was like, it was fine. It was fine. Right. I don't hate it. I don't hate Brie Larson or the character Captain Marvel. Looking forward to the Marvels. But in Endgame, when they started shooting the sky, I'm like, the Living Tribunal's showing up. And then it was Captain Marvel. I was like, never mind. I was like, the Living Tribunal's interfering because he's from a different timeline. And like, that's a no, and like all this stuff. Because you like Mordo has the staff of the Living Tribunal, all that stuff. Like that
would have been cool. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that would have been, and it's funny because I actually saw a few people like tweet after they were like, I really wish this theory came true, man. I'm like, yeah, me too. Cause like, I was like, it would make sense for him to kind of step in and be like, all right, hold up. It's my job to judge. Sure. So, but yeah, but go ahead and let us know what you think about all of that. Law, you made a really good point there at the end about that. So maybe the reboot is the way to go, but what do y'all think? A reboot, soft reboot, or just fuse it all? Like, hey, we can't fix the multiverse. We're all going forward in one universe, or maybe just like a few from now on. And like, yeah, maybe the TVA will monitor it so we don't have this big old battle again. What's the best option in your opinion? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to follow Law. We'll link all of his stuff. He'll be back again, so be sure to show him some love. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you all in the next podcast. Woof woof.